Welcome back to the Keep Going podcast with Vin Kennedy. I'm your host, Vin Kennedy. Today we have a special guest. This is Will. Will, you want to do a brief intro on yourself?
Sure. My name is Will. I'm a personal trainer and nutrition coach, specialized with doing strength and nutrition for runners. That's a newer specialization that I've done, but I became a trainer because I wanted to help people have confidence. That's the number one reason why I do what I do, and it's just kind of taken me into different avenues. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, big fan of training myself, running, lifting. I think the mental benefits you get from it are just amazing. And like you said, it builds the confidence into other areas of your life and you kind of just take off from there. But
Absolutely.
what are you doing in person or mainly online?
So I do both. So I'm located in San Antonio, Texas. So I do in person, but I more so am focused on online. So yeah, I do in person, but I don't talk about it too much. It's just more so it's effective with people that are here. I
Right.
started off doing more in person, but transitioning more to online.
Do you have a personal preference on which you prefer doing?
Lately I've really fallen in love with the online space.
Yeah.
It's not for everybody. That's for sure. It's the most cost effective and time effective. If people are able to go to the gym and work hard, like on their own, it's effective. I've found that I can impact the most people with online training and educate the most, and I enjoy that. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you also use your social media platforms to kind of leverage it all. And it's really it's great advice. And I think more people need to know it, especially on the nutrition side of stuff where like I get like mind boggled, like people just don't know how to eat. It's not even the,
Yeah.
like everybody could eat chicken and rice, but it's like what actually agrees with their body and what
Mhm.
is ultimately going to get them the results they want.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's astounding on how much bullshit that we have been educated on, just in school alone, when they don't take the time to educate us on health, really. The health coach was always a football coach that just put on a movie. And nutrition, we were never taught how to eat. I saw a video on Instagram the other day of this guy that went into a children's hospital and showed what they're feeding them in a hospital for kids. And it's just a lack of education. And so that's, you know, my personal, like my training rates are a little bit higher than the average coach, because I definitely believe in taking the long route, especially with nutrition. For workout programs, is pretty simple. But with nutrition, it's like those old people who have set in stone political views and they're not willing to change them, just because it's been just in them forever that this is the way it is. And so with nutrition, it's hard because people are taught to lose weight, you need to eat less. And to bulk, you just need to eat a lot, and all these different things. And people don't take the time to learn about what they're putting in their bodies, unfortunately.
Really, it's crazy. And what's like one thing that you really see is like most glaring with people that don't know or may not know nutrition like as a whole?
you know People undereat. 70% of Americans undereat. And everybody talks about the obesity epidemic and all that stuff, which it's very real, right? A lot of people overeat, but a lot of people struggle with undereating. And in terms of not knowing that undereating can cause weight gain the same way that overeating can cause weight gain. And so I would say, that's the issue that I see the most, is that people undereat across the board.
Yeah, definitely. Are you referencing like slowing down their metabolism from the undereating? Is that generally?
That's an effect of the
Yeah,
undereating, yeah, but just more so they're so concerned with, I got to eat less to lose weight, that their deficit is too big. And when your
right.
deficit's too big, your body stores food. And when your body stores food, it only stores things as fat. And so
Right.
they're gaining fat and losing muscle by under eating, and they just don't know.
Yeah, you kind of put yourself in like that survival mode, right?
Yeah, yeah. Your body is it fight or flight or rest and digest. Your body only does two things. It doesn't know the difference between stresses. It just knows you're stressed or you're not stressed.
Yeah.
And so when you're starving yourself, your body's going to store everything it gets, and it's not going to digest anything, and it's not going to absorb nutrients and do what it's supposed to do. And so when people undereat, they're they're just gaining fat. And
Yeah.
that's the number one thing that I try my best to educate on. Yes, you need to be in a deficit to lose weight. That is the number one thing you need to lose weight, but the deficit can't be too big.
Right. No, it's so true. And then I don't know if you see this, but I see with like a lot of my friends, and like I was one of these people too, where I was either all in as far as like, get shredded for the summer, cut my calories in half, get a six pack, and then
Hmm.
by the time the middle of summer, whatever weight I lost is back on from all the
Absolutely.
drinking and eating.
Yeah.
And then
Hmm.
the other end is I find a lot of my friends like are in that like, we'll have a protein shake in the morning, Wendy's for lunch, and then just whatever for dinner. And it's like, well, I didn't really eat that much today, but it's like, yeah, but how much Wendy's did you eat for lunch? Like it's
Yeah.
not knowing the right foods.
Yeah. It's, and, people go on diets all the time, which diets aren't successful because, well, diets are successful for you to achieve that goal. But as soon as you achieve that goal, you're going to get off the diet, and you didn't learn anything about what to eat. You were eating the same thing every day. You were cutting your food in half. You're being super strict to the point where there's no way you can maintain it. And so where people mess up is that they're always on new diets, diet, instead of just changing their lifestyle as a whole and learning how to eat. I can have 4 slices of pizza and still hit my macros because I know what's in the pizza. I know what I have to eat the rest of the day to kind of make up for that. And just taking the time to do that. And so, yeah, dieting is killing the fitness industry, but everybody wants quick results. Everybody wants things fast. I mean, we have Amazon for a reason, right? I love next day delivery. That's my favorite thing in the world. I love
Right.
grocery delivery to my front door. It's the best thing in the world. But when it's your health, you think that people would take the time, but they don't.
Yeah. And I think exactly like you're touching on is where that difference is you form the actual habits. Like this isn't a diet, it's a lifestyle change. And I feel
Hmm.
like it's tough to buy in. I mean, especially depending on which degree you do that. Like again, I used to throw myself into it used to just be all or nothing. You know what I mean? No
Hmm.
alcohol, no junk food, and that's
Yeah,
it, straight and arrow. But it's like, again, how long can you maintain that for? And it kind of,
exactly.
how do you personally work like balance and food you actually enjoy in your diet?
That's hard because I feel like I've gotten to the point where my stomach disagrees with the food that I once enjoyed, right?
Yeah.
I love ice cream, but I can't have it. Like, or
Right.
like I'll have it, but I'm gonna pay, like,
Yeah.
for sure. I think the last ice cream I had was Dairy Queen on the way home from the lake, and I ate an entire large Dairy Queen, and I was just my stomach was destroyed. And so, as far as balance with food, it's hard because since I've been eating cleaner, it's my body expects clean food. And so the things that I do enjoy, my body just kind of refutes it. Like, too much fat just messes me up. 80, like, meat that's too fatty messes me up. Like the 80% lean ground beef, I got it from Costco and cooked it up, and it just, my stomach was just like, I don't like this, because I usually eat 96% lean.
Right.
And so the balance is hard because your body changes as you eat healthier. But I would say the best way that I'm able to have balance is understanding, why I'm doing it, right? Like, I have no problem eating, you know, a pizza if my girlfriend wants to, because she's had a long day at work and we're going to have some pizza, right? Mentally, I do better if I can plan that ahead. So that way, the rest of the day, I've eaten the foods that I need to kind of round out those macros, because the cheese and the fat's already going to mess me up. But at least if I can fit it into my macros, then I feel good. But I would say, if for balance, right? Like, for just random moments of going out to eat with friends, I think I treat it the same way as alcohol. If it's gonna benefit the if it's gonna benefit the experience, if it's gonna make it a better experience, then go for it. Right? If your friend that you haven't seen in years comes back into town randomly and, hey, like, do you want to go out to eat? Like, absolutely, of course. And if I go to the restaurant and I can't track my food, it's not the end of the world at all. But I would say if it benefits the experience, then go for it. But the best way that I've found to have that balance, honestly, macro tracking is huge. It helps a lot because I'm able to have chicken nuggets at dinner. I'm able to have, pizza. I'm able to have cereal. I'm able to have these things, and one, not mess up my stomach, because I won't do milk because I know that'll upset me, or I won't do cheese because I know that'll upset me, but also be able to have tacos and stuff like that, or I will sacrifice and have that pizza, even though I know the cheese probably is not going to agree with me. I
Yeah.
try to not let myself be super strict all the time because it's easy for me to fall into that.
Yeah. No, I'm in the same boat. And it's funny, obviously Thanksgiving just passed and I felt it. Like,
Yeah.
I think I haven't even like, I don't even track anymore, but I just kind of loosely eat. But
Mhm.
again, the more you do it, the kind of like, you could just kind of intuitively eat and you kind of know where you're falling around.
Yeah.
So I've been in that space for, I don't even know, because I did 75 hard, a marathon prep, a bodybuilding prep before that, but there was like a week where I just went off because
Mhm.
again, bodybuilding's so restrictive that
Yeah.
it kind of almost like not forces you, but it's hard to stay on.
Yeah.
So this was the first time in like a long time that I had like anything other than just because I was doing like Saturday during the summer, just ice cream every once in a while. But again, it's
Mhm.
working it in when I know I can. Like I would have a 14-mile run if I have some ice cream that night, not going to kill
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Though again, we do pay for it because our bodies aren't used to it. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it's funny because I used to, and I found myself even Thanksgiving binge eating, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, I don't know when I'm going to have this again, but I look at it different now. It's like I don't care about I know tomorrow I'm going to be a little bloated, or I'm going to have a better pump in the gym. I
Mhm.
look at it now as like tomorrow, I'm more likely to snooze the alarm. I'm more likely to have mental fog. Like that's the stuff that actually
Mm.
bothers me now, rather
Yeah.
than the physical of like this is going to set me back. And like I think you even posted on your Instagram, it's like literally fall back in your routine, and by Friday or whatever, you won't even know that you had Thanksgiving last week, and it's the
Yeah.
truth. But
Yeah.
it's now for me personally, it's that mental side of things where like that food affects me in such a way that it's just like I don't feel as sharp, I don't feel as clear, and that's what really bothers me.
Mhm.
But and I don't know how you personally combat that, but I still tend to like kind of just restrict it, keep it really
Yeah.
limited, but every once in a while it kind of, you know,
So why does it bother you? Like, is it because if it's that it's upsetting your body and causing you to not sleep as well, that's one thing, right?
yeah.
Or if it's, does it bother you mentally knowing that you had it and shouldn't have, and then you sleep well because of that? Do you think it's more so physiological or do you think it's more so mental?
I would say physiological. So in the past, it was definitely mental. Like I used to almost
Mhm.
beat myself up over it. And
Yeah.
now I've kind of gotten away from that. But it's like, I know, like, say the next day I wanted to do a podcast episode, like, I don't feel as sharp. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, all the sugar it does personally, I feel like I'm not as quick or,
Mhm.
kind of wiring, like firing and wiring at the same capacity that I could be. And
Yeah.
then the same thing is, and a lot of that has to do with the sleep. I feel it.
Mhm.
I,
No, I feel you too.
yeah,
Like I if my fats are over, I don't sleep as good. I just
yeah,
don't. If I have sugar before bed, I don't sleep as good. And I don't know if there's really any way to combat that, right? Like
yeah,
my girlfriend can have a Coke for dinner and she might not sleep good and I'll remind her like the reason why you didn't sleep good is because of that, but to her it's worth it, you know?
yeah,
To me it's not. I won't
I
do it,
agree.
And so I don't know if there's any way necessarily to combat it. I think it's just understanding what's worth it and what's not to
Yeah,
you. Like on Thanksgiving, I binged too because, typically I'll have leftovers for a few days after that. Took home some of my mom's deviled eggs and her potato salad, even though I know those things aren't going to agree with me. And, I finished the deviled eggs, but I didn't finish potato salad because I had the food the next day. I had some turkey, deviled eggs, some potato salad. And then I was like, I'm done with this. Like, I don't want
yeah.
any more of this food, And so I would just say, like, the best way to combat it is to know when it's worth it and know when it's not.
Yeah, I think you said something that kind of really hit home with me was is it like socially, is it going to make the experience better? And it's true. And even Thanksgiving for a point to itself is I was with my family and I generally don't eat what they're eating. Like it
Mhm.
never works out. Like everybody will be
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we're getting so and so for dinner." And it's just like, "Yeah, I'm going to do my own thing."
Mhm.
And it was so weird and I actually noted it. Like it was such a mental point for me that I said something to my sister and I was like, "It's so like you feel much more included." Like it's crazy. I generally feel
Mhm.
not as such an outsider, but you're not really in it because everybody kind of either looks, oh, like he's got to be healthy, or
Mhm.
you even feel it yourself. And it,
Mhm.
it really was. It was like a sense of inclusion. And it was just so weird to like really like dive into that.
Yeah, it's like going to a bar and drinking water.
Yeah.
People will drink, a sparkling water with a lime in it, so that way it looks like they're drinking. So that way people aren't like, why is this guy in the club, like, at this bar drinking water,
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's the same thing when she wants to go to dinner and she has a drink. I won't have a drink, but I'll go to dinner. She just wants to go to dinner.
Right.
And so it's definitely the feeling included part, right? Because
Yeah.
everybody at Thanksgiving was like, dude, he just keeps going back. He just keeps going back, and I want people, I literally had to tell everyone that we're getting together for Thanksgiving because everybody had their own things going on. And I was like, no, like Thanksgiving's a day that we're going to come together as a family. And I think in my opinion, Thanksgiving is a day that everyone should just drop everything and just get together. Like no
Right.
politics, no, well, I'm going here, well, I'm going here, well, I'm going here. We just all go to the same spot. And so I wasn't going to do all that and then not eat the food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so definitely the included thing, definitely like it's hard to sit here and watch her eat slices of pizza, even if it doesn't fit my macros that day, I'll probably have a slice and I'll figure it out. I'll change up my dinner a little bit to figure it out, or I won't hit my macros that day, because I want to have a slice. But some days she can have personal pizza and I don't want any of it. So I think it's definitely differs.
Yeah. And it kind of goes back to like what you want, right? Like obviously, and it goes back to like delayed gratification where it's like, that might not be better for you tomorrow, as far as it might upset your stomach. You just might not feel that great if you have, an important workout or lift or whatever. And it's kind of
Mhm.
just like giving up what you want now for what you want most. I
Yeah,
feel like
that's the
that's,
whole
yeah.
that's the whole theme of life, right? I want to
Yeah.
buy these shoes, but I need to save money. I want to cultivate a relationship with this person, but I kind of want to just be left alone. It's delayed gratification is, everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. And just last thing to touch on with Thanksgiving, I think it's funny too, is that so my immediate family knows me as like always eat strict, always on point with that. And then my extended family, whenever we get together, I generally just eat. Those are my days where I'll just go and kind of eat whatever I want.
Hmm.
And those people are always like, "Oh my god, he eats all the turkey on Thanksgiving." So it's funny you get these two ends of the spectrum too, where it's like if you see me 90% of the time, I'm like just locked in, but you see me on these other days, and it's just funny people's perception on it.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get it all the time with, whenever I talk to my clients about nutrition, and I know I'll relate it back to something I did. And they're like, yeah, but you do this for a living. And I'm like, well, yeah, I do. I do this for a
Right.
living.
Choose to do it. Yeah.
There's a reason why you hire me. You're not going to hire me if I don't look like I'm in shape.
Right.
And so, people's opinions are always interesting. Right. But at the end of the day, I would say at one point in my life, I ate really clean because I wanted to look a certain way, and I still want to look a certain way, but I also just want to feel better,
Yeah.
like right now with my back hurting, I'm not going to eat a bunch of foods that are going to inflame me when I'm already inflamed. I'm just not going to do that.
Right.
I have a photo shoot in like 15 days. I'm going to eat a little bit more clean, more so than I normally would, just so that way I can look the way I want to look whenever I'm doing that.
Right.
But um at the end of the day, people are always going to have opinions. But
Absolutely.
I totally get what you're saying about the whole extended family, real family. Like my real family knows that I don't really go out of my way weekdays to see anybody because I work 8 to 8 and then I want to go to sleep,
Right.
you know. But I went to the Thanksgiving thing on a Wednesday, the day before Thanksgiving, because they wanted to do it. And so yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And even so, like obviously you have the shoot coming up in 15 days, and that can be looked at as the same thing as, you want to heighten the experience with families. So you want to have the food. At this end, you want to heighten the experience with the shoot. So you want to be locked in. And I think
Absolutely.
there's like this other there's obviously the fitness culture on social media and stuff. And then there's this other culture where it's like everybody's too disciplined. There's too much of that. And I,
Hmm.
I, I think it's funny. And again, I think there is a balance in everything, but it's not a bad thing to be unbalanced sometimes.
Yeah, you're my discipline with nutrition might be your discipline with finances.
Right.
I love buying shoes. I probably have 70 pairs of shoes. I
Right.
just got two more 2 days ago. Should I have? No.
Right.
But did I? Yes. But
Cyber Monday.
yeah, but you went and ate out. Would I have done that? No. Did
Right.
you? Yeah. And so I think everybody moves differently because they move to what's important to them. And
Absolutely.
so, there is a lot of people saying, the fitness is too strict. It's da da da. It's not realistic. You can't really achieve these goals. Well, I can. Like you have kids and a wife, and I don't. I can never
Right.
relate to that. You know what I mean? And so, I think if people would just stay in their own lane, things would be much better.
Yeah. No, I agree. And something I wanted to touch on was, you ever feel like there's almost too much nutrition advice out there, as far as like sometimes it just gets so conflicting, and then I just kind of go based on like what I feel personally, because it's
Yeah.
just too much where it's like seed oils are going to kill you. And like, I try to stay
Yeah.
away. I know they cause inflammation and stuff like that.
Yeah,
But then
blah, blah,
at
blah.
some degree, like it's in almost everything. So it's like, can I never eat a protein bar? You know what I mean? So it's kind of, yeah, exactly.
There is too much information out there, but there's absolutely nothing that we can do about it
Right.
at this point. So either you're going to do the education behind it or you're not. Either you're going to look at every single ingredient label or you're not. I choose to not because I don't want to live like that personally. Some people, they have other health markers that are really, really important to them and they're willing to live like that. You know, there's no not knocking anything against them. I just feel like personally, I don't choose to live like that.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you. It's just, yeah, it kind of gets, obviously you're in the space and you're professional. So it's different, but like, yeah, there's just so much out there. And again, without doing the research, you kind of get caught up in like, I'm basically not allowed to eat anything. It's like almost crazy, but
Yeah. I would just stick to the big things and stick to the things that you can regulate yourself.
right.
That would be my biggest advice. You need to do the research. Everyone needs to do the research. And whenever you see something on the news, you're not just supposed to just believe it because
Right.
you're watching Fox News, right? You got to understand, okay, this is Fox News. This is probably biased towards this, but people are lazy and people that make the whole Liver King thing just went
Yeah.
off, right? Of him getting shut down everywhere, right? Some people are surprised and other people were like, well, of course he's on steroids. Like, look at him, you know? And I think it's just people are going to spend more time on the things that are important to them.
So true. Yeah. What was really like the catalyst to get you started in fitness and like nutrition as a whole?
Fitness, I got dumped by a girl in high school that
Usually does it. Yeah.
dumped me for a guy that she said was bigger than me. That started yeah, that started everything. Um just not feeling, I already knew I struggled with confidence, but being told that to your face when you're a senior in high school will definitely do it to you.
Yeah.
And so that kickstarted fitness for me. As far as nutrition goes, nutrition was more so after college, after partying. I did the fraternity thing for 2 years. I had fun. I partied. I made memories, all that. And then I got out and I just wanted to feel better. And you just get, you get tired of feeling like shit all the time. If you put shit in, you're going to get shit out. If you have unleaded gas all the time, you're going to drive like a Chevy. If you want to drive like a Mercedes, then you got to fuel like a Mercedes. And so as far as nutrition goes, what made me want to dive into that is just wanting to learn more about why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that's kind of it for most people, right? Like you kind of dive into fitness for whatever reason, and sometimes you're chasing a look, and then you realize how important the food is. Like I know personally, I was spinning my wheels forever, and it's just again, it takes wanting to learn to make the change. But I see so
Mhm.
many people, like I talk to people, and they're like, I feel like so and so goes to the gym and never changed, and like I was one of those people forever. But it's like that's where the food comes in. Like,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, that's where I mean, change is people like we're like, well, I look the same that I always have. I'm like, okay, well, if you've looked the same that you always have, like, what are you doing differently to have a different result? If you do what everyone has always done, you're going to be who everyone has always been. If you want to be different, you have to do different. And so,
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, nothing changes if nothing changes. It was kind
exactly.
of it was, yeah, I mean, for me, it really was. I was like literally not changing at all. Like every once in a while, like a bicep vein would come in. I'd be like, this is awesome. And then it's like,
Yeah.
because I was probably eating a little less.
Hmm.
And then, you just, the summer comes around and you kind of go right back into it.
Yeah.
It's definitely not easy, but like you said, if you're willing to make the changes, anything is possible. Even before we hopped on, you mentioned how you climbed up to 200 pounds. That's awesome. 200 pounds, like lean, actual muscle, like a solid 200 pounds is
Hmm.
something that it's tough for a lot of people to maintain.
Yeah. I think I mean, a lot of it's also just not guessing, you're assessing, right? Like you choose not to track your food. I choose to track my food. I don't want to have a question mark at the end of it, me wondering why I'm not getting to my goal. For you, it's not as important. That's not as important, but you track your runs like religiously. You know what I
Right.
mean? You stay on your run program more religiously than I do, probably. And it just falls down to what's important to you.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And the food thing even kind of goes back to where like, and I don't know if you've ever done like a crazy like prep, or I mean you dial down for your,
Yeah.
yeah, for your shoots, you definitely kind of get locked in. Just
Hmm.
sometimes with the numbers I get too crazy. So I'm like every once in a while it's good to balance it out and kind of eat intuitively.
Yeah, that's why I typically will do 1 day a week where I don't track. So that way I'm not getting obsessive about it and I'm not, I don't have a negative connotation towards tracking in my head. Try to stay
Right.
away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what kind of started you to like what sparked the, obviously graduated college, you kind of really got into nutrition, you were always kind of into working out. And then what kind of sparked the like initial thought to building the brand, building the business?
Man, COVID hit. Honestly, I don't know if I would ever be doing this if COVID didn't hit. I was at Lifetime. I was at a big public gym, big corporate gym, making a lot of money for them. Obviously, I wasn't making a lot of money myself, but they were taking a lot of it. COVID hit. I was sulking for 2, 3 weeks. Like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? They told me, do what you have to do right now. And I was like, okay, say less. Cause I didn't know, cause I signed a non-compete. So I didn't know if
Right.
I was allowed to go out and train my people. Cause my people still wanted to work out, but
Right.
I couldn't work out at the gym. So they said, do what you got to do for now. Started doing what I had to do. It's like, hey, I kind of like this. I'm making more money now. I'm more in control. I can give the quality that I want. I can give the service that I want. And then it came time to go back, and I wasn't down to go back. And so, yeah, I could have, 99 times out of 100, I would have bet against myself ever being an entrepreneur until COVID hit and bet your back was against the wall. And then I was like, okay, I kind of like this, and it's stressful, man. Like
Yeah.
having a business doing 100K a year it's stressful, right? But there's more risk, but there's also more reward.
Right.
And so yeah, COVID is what started it for sure. Never thought I'd be doing this, but very happy that I am.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm happy for you, man. And it's funny because it is those situations, right, where you kind of, not that you have no choice, but it's the uncomfortable situation. And if you take that route, it is the route less traveled, but it does have the bigger perks. I was a police officer and completely switched, went into finance, started doing mortgage loans, commission based. So similar boat. Whereas,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have a check coming every 2 weeks. And then exactly like without COVID, we wouldn't even be sitting here. Like none of this, it kind of sparked everything.
Yeah.
But it's funny that it takes those moments of like, and I've spoke on it before where it's like I had kind of two groups of friends where it was like you either fell into the drinking and like now you're just drinking at home, eating whatever you want, or people fell hard into like fitness,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of falling into fitness kind of was a catalyst for me as well. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It's when your back's against the wall, it's interesting, right? You don't want to back a dog up against the wall because you don't know what he's gonna do. I had
right,
no idea I was gonna do this ever until it came time to put up or shut up, and I was like, you can either be broke and be worried about when your next paycheck's gonna come, or you can figure it out. And yeah, figured it out.
yeah. I'd be curious to see like obviously at that point, you kind of had your training on lock, you had nutrition on lock, so like you had the confidence built from that. So I think obviously that helped you propel. And in a lot of
Yeah.
areas, I was in a similar boat, and it kind of comes from the like physically knowing what you can do and kind of pushing yourself in that way
Hmm.
trickles into the mental side, and you realize that you can kind of do anything you want.
Yeah. Yeah. The mental side is challenging, right? It's the imposter syndrome's a bitch. I deal with it day in and day out. 100%. Social media makes it worse. I hate social media, but
Yeah.
it's a big part of what I do, and it's a
Right.
big part of how you make money. And so, yeah, the confidence part, it doesn't just stay there. You have to train it. Just like your muscles won't stay, you have to train them. And the way I'm confident about myself physically, I had to train that, and I
Right.
had to train the mental side just as much.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's awesome, man. Again, it's scary, but the reward in it, and it's definitely worth it.
Absolutely.
So what are some of your thoughts on like I personally haven't done it in a while. I've done it in the past, like completely cutting out junk food. Like you said, obviously, yeah, it's a
Mm-hmm.
tough one because it could be beneficial for certain people. I think,
Mm-hmm.
certain people just as a basic kind of getting away from things coming out of wrappers is a
Yeah.
solid place to start as far as just getting
Mm-hmm.
overall healthy, depending on where you're at. But
Mm-hmm.
completely cutting it out, how do you personally feel about that?
I think it's just hard to maintain.
Yeah.
I think that it's just hard to maintain, right? If you have a lot of money and you can have a chef that cooks for you every day, it's different, right? I say the same thing for vegans, right? It's
Right.
hard to maintain being vegan because you don't have the knowledge of what it takes. And so with cutting out, processed things, it's hard to maintain 100%. But I think if you try to just trend in that direction, I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
I've personally found myself when I do get in that, a phase where, if I'm really locking in for something, I will cut out like sweets and certain foods. And I find that I don't really crave them. The more you stay away from the more you don't crave them. But again,
Mm-hmm.
once you allow it back in, it's also harder to stop.
Yeah. I've learned, I would love to eat all clean carbs, but having 45% carbs at 3,300 calories, it's
Yeah.
hard to get them all in clean. And I love a cinnamon raisin bagel fresh out of the toaster. It's hard to beat. And
Yeah.
so, but in terms of like Rice Krispie treats and shit like that, I don't buy them. If I go to a gas station, I see it and I want it, I'll have it.
Right.
But I tend to keep them out of the house so that way I won't eat them. We have box of 35 things of chips. I had some yesterday, but I probably didn't have them before that for a week and a half,
Right.
And so, in terms of, wanting to stay away from those, again, I would love to stay away from those. But I've found that averaging them in sometimes is a little bit mentally better for me. And also challenges me, right? How can I hit my macros and still have this donut? How can I hit my macros and still have this bag of chips? And, I tend to challenge myself in that way, and also challenge myself in the way of not getting obsessive, because it's easy for me to be obsessive.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously it's an area of expertise for you. So it kind of is, it's probably beneficial to even feel yourself the resistance towards those things, or even working them in and how you can, because then you have more information for your clients.
Yeah. And more information for clients for sure. Like I want to be able to have balance in my life, and I want to teach people how to have balance. So I feel like I should, same way that, I try to practice what I preach in terms of working out and eating the same thing with them, right? No, you don't need to be obsessive. No, that's not healthy to be obsessive. No, it's not healthy to cut things out that you enjoy. Let's teach you how to have those and also have balance at the same time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's funny too, because like food is that one thing that like everyone struggles with. I don't care if you're Chris Bumstead or if you're anybody. Obviously
Mm-hmm.
you're a professional in the field, and it's every once in a while, Thanksgiving, you have a little more than you might should. And again, there's
Absolutely.
nothing wrong with that. It's just, yeah, it's really what works for you, what works best for you, what keeps you healthy. And it's sometimes it's a tough middle ground to find, but it's
Yeah.
definitely important.
Yeah. Everybody's always comparing themselves to everybody else, right? If I could have a personal chef that made every single piece of food that I ever put in my mouth, fuck yeah, I would.
Right.
If I was a millionaire, dude, I would never cook. I'd have
Yeah,
a chef
I agree.
here every single day. Chef
I
literally would
agree.
live in my house. But I'm not there, right? And
Yes.
so, if I stop at a Jersey Mike's, I'm gonna stop at a Jersey Mike's and have a sub. If it doesn't fit my macros, I'll try my best, and if it doesn't, then it doesn't. But it's just balance. I think that's
Yeah.
everything. I think that's what people struggle the most with, is that I struggle with it as well, right? Like I would stay in and work every single weekend if I could, but I know I shouldn't,
Right.
because then I look up and I'm like, I'm missing out.
Right.
And so balance is everything.
Yeah. And even in the field you're in, I feel like obviously it is nutrition, it is, training, but there's also like a mental aspect that you're teaching people, right? So it's like having the balance yourself, I think, is so important. I speak to my little sister about it all the time. Like, she has great balance when it comes to like, in the morning, if they got bagels or donuts, she could have one and then go throughout the rest of her day, go to the gym, eat clean. And I'm like, wow, that's like, sometimes when I'm in that phase of like locking everything out, I'm like, that's cool, and
Yeah.
it's important. It really is.
Yeah. You got to flex it. You got to train it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's weird because even then I find myself sometimes on the other end of the spectrum, where like Thanksgiving, you go a little off, but it also shows you like like had a great lift the next day. So I was like, oh wow, like obviously I don't want to do that. I don't even know how many calories I ate, but I don't want to do that every whatever once a week. But if I were to have a couple more extra things, like it's not gonna kill you.
Yeah. It's not the end of the world for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Do you personally have any issues with like training or nutrition that like you on the regular, or kind of periodically like have to balance, or really that you have issues with?
I like to train. I like to lift the same days every week. I wanted to hit legs today and my back was killing me, and I didn't, but I really wanted to. And so I struggle with the imposter syndrome of feeling like I had to show up every single day. My running coach would say differently, because I tend to miss a lot of runs just because it's not something I'm passionate about.
Right.
It's not something that's tied into the root of everything like lifting is. So I would say that the biggest thing I struggle with is, again, just the balance, right? Of me. I know that missing one leg day, I'm not going to lose any results. And I didn't think once that, I'm going to lose results. I just wanted to go hit legs because I hit legs
Right.
on Thursday. Just like on every Monday, I want to hit legs. And if I can't hit legs on a Monday, I'm like, fuck, dude, like I really
Yeah.
want to go. As soon as I book a vacation, I'm call gyms that are there to make sure that I can go to the gym. I struggle with balance. I struggle with showing up all the time. I don't show up for my runs, even though I'm literally have a half marathon on the calendar. I miss a lot of runs,
You're working with Jeremy?
No, I'm working with a guy named Matt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, listen, I mean, it's tough. And but again, it goes back to what you said earlier, where it's like you show up for what you want, like, right? Like, so like obviously lifting is your priority and it's what you're most passionate about. So it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think even the training it just goes back to routine. Like we're creatures of habit. It's like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
blame you. You want to hit legs on Monday and Thursday. Like it's
Yeah.
frustrating when you can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
What's one thing that you kind of say early on to your clients or that you would tell people right off the bat to implement to kind of make them healthier?
Consistency. A lot of people like to do random workouts all the time. A lot of people like to eat random food all the time. Our bodies want to be in homeostasis and we need to feed that. Not meaning that you need to be obsessive, but you need to be consistent. You need to be, I always tell my clients, you need to be 80%. You don't need 100. I don't really ever need 100 from you. Every once in a while, you're going to give me a week that's 100. Every once in a while, you're going to give me a week that's a 50, but your average needs to be 80%. And
Yeah.
so I would say consistency is the biggest part that people struggle with. People don't like doing monotonous things. They don't like doing the same workouts 5-6 weeks in a row when you need to.
Yeah.
People don't like following the same macros for more than a week, but you need to. And so consistency for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last question I ask it to everybody is what keeps you going?
That really skinny, not confident kid I don't think will ever die within me keeps me going. It keeps me going to the gym, keeps me going in my personal life, keeps me going in my personal relationships, just remembering how I used to feel and never wanting to feel that way. I feel like whenever I have sales calls with new clients, I always ask them what their fuck it moment was, where they're like, you know what, fuck this. And I feel like everybody has that moment, whether it be in the gym, whether that be in a relationship, whether that be, with yourself, whether that be at work, whatever. I think everybody has that moment where they're never going to let themselves feel like that again. And I remember how I felt and how shitty it felt being dumped by the girl you were head over heels in love with, your first real girlfriend, you're fucking doing everything. And I remember how shitty that felt. And I don't want to ever feel that way again. And more so than not wanting to ever feel that way again, I won't feel that ever way again. Yeah. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, no, absolutely. We need those driving forces. And again, even goes back to being an entrepreneur now, where it's like, you kind of now you can't go back, right? Like you can't go back and work hourly. I'm sure.
Absolutely. Fuck that, dude.
Yeah,
Fuck that. No way.
I agree, man. But I really appreciate your time. Thanks
Yep.
for all the knowledge and rooting for you.
Of course. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me
Of
on.
course.